If someone were to ask me which chore I hate the most, I would without hesitation say doing the dishes. It's so fucking tedious. The other night they took me altogether 2 hours, even though I let them soak. Bottom line, never cook eggs in a skillet that isn't non-stick. We really need to get a new scrubber because the one we got ain't cutting it. Now that I got that off my chest, I'll continue where I left off last post. I convinced them to bring me, Carl, and Nick together. The two of them were informed of what I said. I'm not sure if they knew what I was trying to do. However, they trusted me enough to go along with it. We were all put in an interrogation room in which we were cuffed to our chairs. So, what they do to you guys? I asked. Carl answered that they put him in some kind of sensory deprivation machine for several hours. That sounded horrifying. Imagine being aware but unable to feel anything. That would be enough to drive any normal person crazy. But the fact that he isn't is one of the reasons I like Carl. Holy shit, Nick said. Are you all right after that? Don't worry. I've specialized in torture tolerance techniques, and while being in there was unpleasant, it'll take more than that to break me. Now, what did they do to you, Nick? Nick told us that he spent the morning in a maze, getting chased by giant man-eating worms. It was like they were watching a game. I'm glad I made it out, but the people down there with me weren't so lucky. I'll be honest, I was close to cracking before they came to get me. Well, we're happy you didn't, I told him, not to mention the fact that we're all safe. Me too. By the way, what did they do to you? Oh, they threatened to feed me to this giant angler fish sea serpent thing. It got way too close. Sounds rough. Just then, Blue entered the room. That's enough small talk. I should inform you three that unicorns have also been sighted by our staff. However, we haven't had as much interaction with them as you claim to have had. The only thing of them we've managed to get is some fur. That was exactly what we needed. Did you lose any people to them? I asked. Oh yeah, those things are vicious, but I'm confident we'll be able to handle one with ease here. At the mention of the word one, I could have sworn I saw a flare of realization in Carl and Nick's eyes. The former spoke up. Well then, it's a good thing you got some of their fur, since it's the key to accessing their world. Oh, and how exactly is that done? Gather some supplies, and we'll show you. He explained how we came across the ritual, and how even though the old woman was dead, the items needed for it might still be among her belongings. Well, since this could end up being very useful to us, I'm going to give the order to track her things down. You mentioned the town she was in, but would you happen to recall her exact address? Carl did. We were sent back to our rooms, and it took them a couple of weeks to locate and retrieve the things from storage. After confirming that they had what would be needed, we were taken to some kind of indoor greenhouse. It was so big that they were growing trees in it. Hell, you could practically call it a mini forest. Carl and I proceeded to do the ritual just like last time. I feel as though I should explain exactly what I was planning. Now, admittedly, I was extremely nervous to execute it, since it would put us at risk as well. Sometimes you gotta take that gamble, though. Anyway, I was hoping my theory would be correct. Said theory, depending on our world and the unicorns being in sync with one another. What I mean by that is you could end up in a different part of their world depending on where you do the ritual here. Things actually ended up going well. Too well. Way too well. Once we finished, the path appeared like last time. I'll be damned, Blue said. It actually worked. What now? You can either send some people in or wait and see if one comes out, Carl answered. I think we'll wait. A minute or so passed, and we could hear the galloping of several sets of hooves. I thought this was so good so far. My plan was for about 5 or so unicorns to show up, cause some chaos which we could take advantage of. That changed when other noises made themselves known. My heart dropped into my stomach when I recognized them as coming from harpies. Carl yelled at me and Nick to get back. Then, before Blue knew what was happening, a flock of harpies came out of the path, along with several stampeding unicorns. All hell broke loose in a gore-filled bloodbath. Right off the bat, the harpies decapitated the nearest guards. The poor bastards didn't even get the chance to defend themselves. Next, a group of unicorns came stampeding out. Although some of them were gunned down, they managed to impale or stomp most of their attackers to death. By this point, we were trying to get the fuck out of there. Then we heard a voice that chilled my spine. You, he said with his voice full of hatred. Carl and I recognized him as one of the unicorns who found us. A lifeless body was currently on his horn and dripping with blood. He tossed it aside and turned his attention to us. Oh shit, I murmured. You betrayed their majesties. About that, we fucking booked it, trying desperately to escape him. His thundering hooves were right behind us. Our castle fell because of you two. He roared, attempting to impale us with his horn. We split up, trying to divert his attention. He chose to chase me. I tried losing him behind some trees, but he just knocked them down. One nearly fell on me. I was beginning to get a stitch in my side, so I needed Carl and Nick to do something fast. I ended up getting cornered. Scrambling and finding no way out, I could only turn to face my pursuer. Now perish, traitor, the unicorn declared, galloping towards me. As he did, I could only brace myself for what was to come. My only thought was, I fucking hate unicorns. That'll do for this post. I'm feeling a little nostalgic, so I'll be spending some time rewatching Dragon Ball Z. Later, everyone.